With all the big calls on all the big races, this is What a Shout, brought to you by the Racing Post and our sponsors Bet365, the Racing Post flagship feature show every weekend, brought to you somewhere in the capital. Delighted to be back. Myself, Dave Orton, looking ahead. We're in January, aren't we? Will it, won't it be on? We're hoping that Trials Day at Cheltenham does indeed make it. At the time of filming, it's looking a little bit touchy, but we've got Doncaster as well and runners all over the country still coming at you. Plenty to get our teeth stuck into. Delighted to say, back on the panel, we've got a great panel for you today. Paul Kealy joins us again. We're getting used to you at home now, Keels.
Yeah, how's it going, Dave? I'm thoroughly enjoying being at home, actually. It's nice.
I can imagine that. Are you making a nuisance of yourself at home, or have you done the decorating again? Is there anything left to decorate?
It's quite good, actually, because my wife still works, you see, so she's a nurse, so she goes into work 3 or 4 times a week. I tend to have the house to myself, apart from my daughter, who stays upstairs. I am very close to a fridge, which is always good. So, yeah, it's fine.
Okay, happy days. We'll see how Keels is progressing during the show. You can be the judge of that one. And I'm absolutely thrilled to say that after a couple of weeks of having to record remotely, Pat Cooney joins us live again.
Yeah, good to be back. Looking forward to the show. Big fan of Emma's as well, I am. So looking forward to it a lot.
Well, look, he's just teased the guest there, hasn't he? That was it. I had his big build-up planned. Well, I am delighted to tell you that somewhere down in Marlborough, we do have the top trainer that is Emma Lavelle joining us.
Hi there, everybody.
Thanks for joining us, Emma. I spoke to you at the start of the week, Emma, and I told you how it sort of goes. And I said, so we do a Skype link. And you said, Skype? That's like going back into the dark ages. But I have to say, already, you're striking me as one of the more professional outfits that we've had. You've got the ear pods in and everything, ready to go.
I know. It's a miracle. It's a miracle.
And you said to yourself when you were getting yourself ready in the shops before we came on, I've got hair issues and stuff. Honestly, I said, look down the panel. You've got nothing to worry about. I mean, a Rose and Thorns doesn't quite cover it.
I just haven't got competition with quantity, put it that way.
Certainly not. I mean, I'm doing all right, but I'm not sure about the other two. Talking about quantity, how many runners have you got in at the moment, Emma, and how has this season treated you, this crazy season?
So we've got 70 horses in. We're in a very good position. We've got 70 boxes, 70 horses, so that's been brilliant. And it's been a good season. It's clearly hasn't been straightforward. To start off with, it was very dry. Then the rain came, and it's just never stopped. But look, we've been lucky. We've had some great results, and we've got some lovely youngsters still to come. So no complaining from here, anyway.
Yeah, looking forward to them coming out. And your husband Barry, of course, we all remember Barry Fenton, the tough as nails jockey, of course, in the scenes there as well. It has been a good season, hasn't it? Of course, you had Boreham Bill took out the Lanzarote. That was a slogfest, wasn't it? Is that the first time you won the Lanzarote? That's a big prize, wasn't it, Em? That was a great boost for the yard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an iconic race, and it's a race that we've tried to win several times. We were coming to win it with a horse called Captain Sunshine, who capsized at the last. Clearly, we always say we were coming to win it when they capsized at the last. But we've definitely had plenty of runners. Boreham Bill was our less fancied of the two. But Ben Jones gave him an absolute cracker of a ride. He came with a wet sail and won really well in the end.
Well, he's a good lad, Ben Jones, isn't he? Absolutely. And of course, Emma, you've had 3 Cheltenham Festivals winners along the way. Paisley being one of them, of course. Paisley Park, your Grade 1 winner. We crunched the numbers, Emma. You've had 18 Grade 2 winners. Did you know that?
I know that we're quite good on graded winners. We've been a little low on the Grade 1 winners. So Paisley's timing was ideal.
18 Grade 2 winners. That's rather remarkable, isn't it? Let's talk about the great horse then, of course. It's been wonderful to see him come back, Emma. The fibrillating heart, of course, issue that stopped him winning back-to-back stayers hurdles. But, after coming back in the long distance cup when he was conceding £3 to Time Hill, we had Philip Hobbs on the show last week, as you may have seen. He goes now straight to Cheltenham. Let's hope it's on, because he's on a hat-trick in the Cleeve, of course. It's been great to see him come back. That was some finish, that at Ascot, wasn't it?
It was. I've sort of said it before that, I wasn't worried about his heart. It was more my own in the last sort of 100 yards of that race. But it was just fantastic. And, you alluded to it earlier that we'd have plenty of Grade 2 winners. We haven't had many Grade 1 winners. They're blinking hard to win, and they're very special when you do. So, it was fantastic. He's been an exceptional horse for us. He really has. And to see him come back like that desire to win, You can't breed that into them. They either have it or they don't. And it was spectacular for all of us, and it meant a huge amount to Barry, to Andrew, to me, and to the whole team.
When they come back like that, of course, from the disappointment of Cheltenham, you found the issue, you gave him the summer. I think the public have now, I mean, look, let's face it, when a horse goes and wins all these staying races, the public just jump onto him. It's fantastic. That 1-1-1-1-1 season held all before him. But when he looked beaten and then he comes back, it'd be surprised if there's a more popular staying hurdler, in memory, I think, recently than Paisley. If it is off, the worst case scenario happens, Emma, what's the plan? Obviously go straight there, or will you hope that they rearrange the race?
So look, we'd hope they'd rearrange the race. He's in such good order, and he's coming to his prime. And I think what last year showed is that we'd had a good prep into Cheltenham, we'd won our trials races, and then on the big day it just the fibrillating heart, it didn't happen. So I think it's important that you take the chances when they are well, and if it's on, brilliant. If it's restaged, then I think it'd be very, very likely we'd be heading for wherever the restaged race is. If it's not on, the one thing about the weather, it's out of our control. So if it's not, well, so be it. We go straight to the stayers, and that's how it is. But the timing of these races is so ideal that we would definitely be looking to run if we possibly can.
I'm sure that if it is off, they'll look at maybe Sandown next weekend or something like that. Right, okay. That's a word about Emma. Delighted to have her on. We've got Paul Kealy, Pat Cooney. We're ready to go. Let's have a look at what's coming up on the rest of the show. Okay, we're starting off with a hot topic. Are we what? We our own worst enemies, very possibly indeed. Real interesting hot topic coming your way. Of course, we're going to be giving you all the big previews. We're giving you the big calls in the show. And don't forget the weekend winners. If you'd like to sign up to our sponsors, Bet365, now's a great time to do so. A referral code is out there. Type in SHOUT365. When joining, you can bet up a minimum of £5 deposit for up to 100 bet credits. Terms and conditions apply. Hot topic time then, our own worst enemy. So this week, Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden had a big Zoom call. You may well have seen that. I think it was published in most of the national newspapers, the likes of Troy Deeney, for example. Footballers past and present, some pundits as well. Gary Neville were on there as well, to basically try and combat the abuse that footballers past and present, pundits, everyone have been getting on the likes of Twitter and social media platforms. And of course, I suppose, while we are, I guess, globally slightly smaller sports, never has it been more prevalent, the abuse that jockeys, connections, indeed everyone, pundits as well, we all get it, have been getting on Twitter. Emma Lavelle, we just briefly spoke to you about this. Surely racing needs to come under this banner as well. Someone from the BHA needs to go and speak to Oliver Dowden about this, and whoever, they're looking at, holding people to account on these social media companies. Twitter, again, it's the bad example that gets used, but it is the leading one. Some of the abuse is, poisonous is probably being kind to some of it. We won't give that the light of day, but the victim gets punished here, Emma. I mean, you said to me that you dip in and out of Twitter. I must admit, I'm the same. But it's hard to escape all this. What about some of the young stable lasses and lads that you've got in the yard? They live on social media, don't they?
They do. They, very much in the day, you'd almost have to make them put their phones away because they're so obsessed by seeing what is going on in the world on social media. And I think it's a great shame. And you can understand how they do get sucked into it and believing so much of the stuff that's put on there. And I think it does need monitoring. It's easy to hide behind a keyboard and start writing things down and writing things about people with no recourse for what you've written. I think it needs control, definitely. But it as I say to them when they're in that situation, put it down, move away from it. You don't have to read it. Leave it there, and listen to what the people around you are actually saying to your face, because that is, no one is going to want to belittle you or treat you badly in the way that people feel they're able to when they're doing it as a keyboard warrior.
Have you ever had a jockey, for example, say come to you? I know a lot of trainers have, where a jockey said, "This is affecting my performance now."
I haven't, and I do worry about that, because I think if they don't need social media to be promoting them as jockeys. their performance on the race course is what promotes them as a jockey. So therefore, they don't need to be looking at social media. They don't need to be looking at that negative press. And I really feel that if it's getting you down, put it down and leave it. At the same time, I don't believe that anyone has the right to put you down in the way or speak about you in the way that they sometimes do on social media. And I do think there's a level that, of course, that needs controlling. But ultimately, we are in charge of what we read. So if you don't want to read it, don't read it.
I must admit, I've grown a much thicker skin over the years, I've got to say that. Let's bring in Kills then at this point. Kills, these duty of care laws that look like they might now be getting passed through. Obviously, people who've been hammered by this in the past, it's no good to them, is it? But there might be some light on the horizon. It's not just jockeys, Kills, of course, that gets it.
Well, it's not just jockeys. You get grief as a tipster. I mean, James Hill got grief as a tipster for writing about Envoy Allen earlier on this week because he dares to not believe all the hype in the horse, and it's strange. Look, criticism is fine, polite, well-reasoned argument, debate is fine, right? But this isn't. I liken some of what goes on is little better than school bullies. Now, school bullies had their best time of their lives at school because no matter what schools would tell you, it was the one place in your life where you could get away virtually untouched with bullying someone and have no consequences whatsoever. Unfortunately, social media has created this platform where you can go on anonymously and really, really attack and be really vile to people without any recourse whatsoever, no comeback whatsoever. You've seen, we've all seen several trainers go on there who will show a tweet they've got, an email they've got from somebody who's basically saying, I hope you and all your family die of cancer. I hope all your horses break down on it. There's some nasty, vile people out there, and they do it, the vast majority do it anonymously. And if you do something like that anonymously, you are little more than a school bully, a small-minded coward. Unfortunately, there's loads and loads of people out there like that. I would like to see every single account being verified. Your own name on there. Everyone knows who you are, what you do. And if you're not prepared to say something and put your own name and face to it, then you shouldn't say it in the first place. Simple as that.
Yeah, here, Kills, absolutely. Listen, we don't want to be utter snowflakes on this, We have a right to talk about what we're seeing. Everyone's, entitled to opinion. But, as Kills said, keep it civil out there, for goodness gracious me. There's a pandemic going on right at the moment as well. There's bigger things at play here. But it looks like that might be turning now. Pat, let's bring you in on this.
Yeah, I just echo everything that's just been said, really. I mean, some of the abuse I've got on Twitter, if I could do some of the things I've been suggested, I'd be in a circus right now. But when we first had the chance to go on Twitter from representing Bet365, the hierarchy just said to me, just impress us. Don't impress people in anonymous replies to them. Just count to 10, impress us. Just impress us and impress your family. Also, with any of Emma's riders, just impress Emma and the owners. The rest will take care of itself. 9 times out of 10, of course, there tends to be an excuse for these things as well. You'd rather be called inept, as we've mentioned on this show, than crooked as well. So listen, when your money's involved, we understand it. We totally get it. But there must be a level. And to sign this off, basically, Oliver Dowden, if you're struggling to get this past, these duty of care laws, just go and speak to Paddy Brennan, whose big read on Sunday called it out. Hannah Walker did a great piece earlier in the week. It's out there. It's not hard to find examples. Okay, sadly, Cheltenham has gone by the wayside. Hopefully those races, the Trials Day races, will get sent to other tracks, Sandown next weekend, etc. And they'll still be on to give us all the clues that we crave. However, Doncaster is still a fantastic meeting, isn't it? And Kills, Shishkin comes back out in the Lightning.
Yeah, I mean, just a fantastic horse, isn't it? I mean, it goes to show when just how highly rated this horse is, because he's running against a horse, Jenny Candice, is called Cheddleton, He's got an official rating of 149, ran to an RPR of 155 when beating Cornerstone Lad last time, jumping really, really well from the front on bad ground, gets £5, and Shishkin's falls on. And, he's got to run, mid 160s, over 160 to win. And it's considered pretty much a certainty that that's exactly what he'll do. And, well, that is exactly what he did do at Kempton last time. His speed he showed when winning at Kempton was amazing. thrashed Tamarot de Mathan by 13 lengths. Ran a racing post rating of 170. Not many novices do that. Not many horses do that at all after just 2 starts over fences. He looks every inch a superstar, and he's going to be very hard to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Sprinter Sacra won this as well. Listen, next week, on next week's show, hopefully they'll have run and won 3 times, if that's what you're expecting. We know the tribes of Shishkin and Envoy N are out there. Envoy Allen, of course. We will be looking at the numbers in good detail next week, and we'll be giving it the big I am about who's the best, are they special, what do you want to know about Shishkin and Envoy Allen? Get your comments in below. We shall answer as many as we can on next week's show. Pat Cooney, though, Keel says he's going to be around about 4s on. One for the money buyers, obviously.
Yeah, I think he will. He's going to appeal to those who like a short one. You can imagine he's going to be in lots of multiples with Man City and various other sport-related bets. I agree with Keel saying, he's going to have to be a good. We know he's a good horse, but he's going to have to be a 160 pluser, which he looks like. But if he hits a fence and maybe the ground's a bit tacky, whatever. For me, I'd rather lay him at 4 on than back him at 4 on. But look, I'm quite prepared to see him go unbeaten for the next couple of years over fences and, be a favourite for the champion chase in the next season. Not a bet for me. I think he's just one of these. Just enjoy him run, and if he's the superstar, then so be it. But 4 on would make me hide behind the sofa, I think.
Well, absolutely. And also the people that have taken the better prices, of course, about the Arkle. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to be fast. It's going to be furious. It's the Lightning. 205 at Doncaster in Grade 2 mares action. No Lady Buttons this year. Phil Kirby still got a runner in there. Rainer's World. Couple of horses with quite a bit to prove, though, Keels. Who's going to win it?
Yeah, it's one of those difficult ones. I mean, I'm not a great fan of betting at short prices anyway. But you've got 3 horses at short prices. Bookmakers say it's roughly a 3-horse race. And I'm not that keen on any of them. Floressa, 13-8 favourite, roughly 6-4, that sort of mark. Only time she's run on soft ground, she was beaten 9th of 22 to Concertista at Cheltenham. And that's the worst ground she's ever faced. I think it'll be worse at Donny. Marie's Rock, second favourite. Another Nicky Henderson was 2-1 favourite to beat Floressa at Newbury, but bombed out, finished 7th. Been ditched by Nico de Boinville. He comes back second run after a wind off with a hood and a tongue tie. Well, makes you worry. Miranda, only time has raced on heavy ground. She got beat 80-odd lengths in last of 8. So it worries me, and I keep coming back. I keep looking at it, and I think, well, hang on a minute. Philip Kirby won the race last 2 years with Lady Buttons. Okay, Rainer's World isn't Lady Buttons, isn't anywhere near as good, but she did finish well ahead of Floressa when she was 3rd to Concertista on soft ground. All her form is on heavy ground. She's probably not the most trustworthy in the world because she managed to get turned over at 4s on at Exeter myself in November, but she's more than 5 times the price of Floressa, and if I was going to have a bet, it would be a tiny one on her.
Echo all those sentiments. Yeah, it's a worrying thing with Marie's Rock, isn't it? Nico off, like you said, the headgear as well. She clouted the 3rd last as well. Floressa on the ground. Surely they'll go forward again. If you remember last year, of course, Irish Row won this race and was disqualified. Really messy race on the stand side. Peter Atkinson's mare will do for me. Small bet for me. Pat Cooney, any more help out there?
Well, not really. I'm slightly surprised if Nico really did have the pick between Floressa and Marie's Rock because, she was a little bit unlucky. She got hampered at Newbury last time out and a previous form reads ever so well. I wasn't sure. I've ended up fancying Miranda, who on the face of it was disappointing, only 4th at Musselburgh last time. Miranda, she's only run on right-handed flat tracks for Paul Nicholls. Now she's going left-handed, but it is Doncaster, isn't it? Long sweeping straights. She gets weight from the Nicky Henderson pair. A narrow selection, Miranda, for me. But again, if you're only as good as your last race, then the front 3 all have points to prove here. So I see wisdom in looking at a Rainer's World. But stakes to a minimum with this one. This is quite a complex race despite the small field.
A complex race. The market leaders look vulnerable. Take one at the price, says the panel. Right then. Big call time here in the studio. The last weekend of January. Happy days. But the big calls must continue. Every week it gets harder and harder. Pat Cooney, delighted to have you back with one.
Yeah, and my question is straightforward, Dave. Who'd be a handicapper? And I refer really to Royal Pagales winning the Peter Marsh at Haydock last Saturday. And with a mile to go, I was sitting in the armchair thinking, this horse is going to absolutely trot up. What's the handicapper going to do with him? And of course, he won by 16, 17 lengths. Value for considerably more. Ordinarily, I'd be a bit sceptical and say, Haydock, heavy ground, flattered. And I was wondering, what would you do? What would you do? It's just, how much would you put him up for it? Well, the answer was 10 from the official handicap. Admittedly, he dropped a couple of the others, £2 and £4 or whatever. And I was just wondering, is that enough or is it not enough? And I look at Emma's horse, Darasha Count, who won the Ladbroke at Newbury a couple of seasons ago. He won a thrilling 4-way go over the last fence and he went up £9. And I was thinking, who's got the raw end of the stick there? Darasha Counter for going up £9 for winning a competitive race, or Royal Pagale going up 10. I just thought that the abuse that handicapper must get from some irate owners and trainers must be very draining on them. But Royal Pagale, I'm still not sure. My own opinion is he should have gone up more than 10. But is that really fair?
A remarkably topical horse, of course, extremely exciting. Before we bring Kills in on this, let's go to Emma then. Because Killer Clown, a horse that won, of course, over the Kempton Christmas meeting in great style, Emma. Looks like a real horse going place. He went up £13 for that as well, didn't he? In fact, was it the same meeting? It was a day before Royal Pagale, wasn't it, of course?
Yeah, it was. And look, clearly you never want a horse to go up that kind of amount. I think when I have my real grief about horses going up is when they're going up standing in their boxes. So it's collateral form or form that, when a horse hasn't run and its rating is rising. That's the greatest frustration. And that's what I really have an issue with and don't think should happen. When you... As far as Killer Clown is concerned, it had taken me a bit of time to work him out as to ground, distance, that kind of thing. So he'd probably come down a few pounds and was only going up if I'd been a bit sharper with him and worked him out a bit quicker, he would have gone up anyway. So I don't have a big issue with that. Clearly it would be, as you say, nice if it was a bit less, but I think he's a nice horse. I think he's heading in the right direction, and I just think that we've worked him out. It isn't an easy job. Of course, it isn't an easy job being a handicapper. And there are times when we're delighted and think, gosh, that might have gone up more. And times when we think, oh, really? But as I say, my beef is when they go up for collateral form rather than for what they actually did on the day.
That's interesting indeed. And that's a whole topic on itself. Yeah. And so a final word on Killer Clown, 136, that makes him now. That's one of those magic ratings, isn't it, for the big handicaps?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think he's I think there are lots of options. He won't run while the ground is like this because, that is a big deal for him. He was impressive on that slightly nicer ground that we got at Kempton. But, he's quick and he's very quick from A to B over his fences. If we got nice ground at Sandown, I think we'd look at the race that moved from Cheltenham to Sandown as being a target race.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I had this conversation with Kills. I said, that race still exists. Of course, the Imperial or Aplutard Novice Handicap no longer at the Cheltenham Festival. It is now on Imperial Cup Day, Emma, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So if we got the ground there, that's really what our target would be at this stage.
There you go. We've got a big target out. Come on then, Kills. Let's bring you in. No novice handicap. It's going to be Sander. You didn't say it. You know what? He's still got to be in his bonnet about this. No Irish horses was the last thing he's moaning about.
My favourite race, isn't it? Obviously, but yeah, you probably won't have any Irish horses to go against now. It's a Sandown, will you? So he'll have a massive chance there if the ground is good, without a doubt. Now my big call is, we've already mentioned the horse talking about handicap marks. Royal Pagale's handicap mark is now irrelevant. I am absolutely certain he'll run in the Gold Cup. I think he should run in the Gold Cup. I think he might go very close to winning it. Two reasons. First of all, post-race comments from Venetia Williams. Very, very interesting. When she got on TV afterwards, she said, I hoped he would win like that. In other words, she expected him to win a top-class handicap off 156, carrying 11 stone 12 on the bridle. She knows how good this horse is. He's had 10 starts over fences. He's actually had more starts than most of the previous winners of the Gold Cup had going into Cheltenham. And the other thing is that while Cheltenham was renowned after the drainage work that was done several years ago as being a fast draining track, it's no longer true. It's more likely to be a bog at Cheltenham than anything else these days. So they're almost, they're just as likely to get the soft ground that this horse thrives on as they are to get anything else at Cheltenham. And I think Royal Pagale, a young horse, really, really in form, has got a massive chance.
He's nearly single-figure odds, isn't he? And Charlie Deutsch, of course, who was due to run him at Haydock, went down to Ascot instead, said, I would have lots of confidence in this horse in the Gold Cup. I'll tell you what, if Santini wins the Cotswold Chase, Kills, all of a sudden your Gold Cup portfolio is looking all right, isn't it?
Yeah, it won't look too bad. I mean, it was speculative putting him up at 50s on a non-run no bet basis. It couldn't have gone any better. I am fairly confident he's going to run, though. I mean, I just think, and I'll be having a little dig at them as well. I mean, why go for a national hunt chase when you've got a horse that will be in the top 4 in the betting for a Gold Cup, and you're not going to go for what used to be the RSA because you've got Monkfish in it anyway.
Yeah, so unless he stands on a stone, it looks like it's Gold Cup all the way. Well, I've been looking at these Cheltenham Festival markets as well, Keels. It's this time of year, isn't it, where we do all these previews, of course, coming out soon, the Racing Post preview booklet for you. Do not worry about that. And do you know what? I'm really underwhelmed. You've got the Gold Cup, which is, the blue riband, probably the race of the meeting. But for me, I'm a traditionalist like everyone else out there. The Champion Hurdle should be next. And it's another underwhelming Champion Hurdle, isn't it? You've got Epatante coming back. And I look down the list and I keep coming back to Concertista. Now, let's bring Kills in on this. We had a little word about this before we came on air. You said, not having it at all, absolutely not. But Kills, when I go down that list, you've got Sharjah, and Silver Streak, love them to bits. But there's got to be something that can come out and take this. Obviously, we've got the Dublin Festival next weekend. We'll learn more about this. But Saint Rock, I don't know, the gloss has come off him big time. Abacadabras, lots to prove as well. I think Concertista might be the one to come in. Non-runner, no bet.
I can't, I think she stays a fair bit further. I think the Dawn Run mare's race last year was pretty poor. Rainer's World, the third was 101 and still only rated 120 something. We're not talking standout form for me. I mean, I shouldn't knock anybody for tipping a 20 or putting up a 20 to 1 shot because, I like putting up outsiders myself. She doesn't do it for me. I'd be happy that Sharjah would have a big shout still. But I mean, look, it might be underwhelming, but I mean, years ago, you used to have 25 runner champion earls at 5 to 1 the field. I think Morley Street won a massive field. I mean, Emma might remember that because I'm pretty sure you would have been at Toby Bordings then. And you get big prices, big fields every now and again. The time when you get a great race is the time when you get a 3s on shot. I mean, every race is interesting for a reason, and if it's wide open, for me, it's just as interesting.
Where are the young novices? Are they all going over fences? So Kills won't knock anyone for tipping a 20 to 1 shot, unless it's Dave Orton, and we're talking about getting rid of online abuse. 240 up at Doncaster on what looks like an absolutely stellar card up in Yorkshire. It is the Albert Bartlett race. Again, usually a trial for Cheltenham this. But let's go to Pat Cooney. This has been, one of the real tricky ones for your traders to sort of sum up perfectly, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's just such a wide open race. I mean, there's so many of them that you could give solid enough chances to. A real conundrum of a race. Hard to know exactly what will actually go off favourite. I think maybe Flash Collonge might be the one that goes off favourite because he's already shown plenty of ability and he's unexposed at this trip. But Paul Nicholls is keen to try him over it. So maybe he might just improve again for the going up in trip. But I think it's going to be a wide open race. I'd expect maybe Flash to go off favourite. But there's been lots of taking performances from individual horses as well. And you look at the Skelton horse, he was disappointing last time out, but he's better than that. You can make a plausible case out for about half a dozen of these. And I think on official ratings, there's not much between the top 10 in the race, really. So I'm just going for the one that maybe will improve again for the step up in trip. But type of race, I think you might need a couple of cracks at this one.
Ask a Honeybee is a horse that I've been, is a project for me, basically. And I think the omission of a hurdle or two at Cheltenham wasn't great for him last time. I'll be giving him another chance, thorough star. Emma Lavelle, though, we have a runner in this, Shang Tang.
Yeah, he's a funny horse. He has got lots and lots of ability and is a strong traveller. But we fancied him for the Lanzarote, and he just ran with the choke out through the race. Just did it all on one breath and just never got home. We'll ride him with a bit more restraint. He was impressive when he won at Ascot. His jumping was very sharp. He's a second season novice. I think it's going to be a tough race. It's going to take some grinding, and I think it's going to take some experience. I definitely think he goes there with a chance. It's a shame he's got a penalty for that Ascot win, but I think he's a horse with plenty of ability, and I think he should run well.
You've got a 25% strike rate at Doncaster, so just a track that suits your horses, obviously. Ennis Scoffy Oscar, was that a previous winner of this race?
Yeah, absolutely. And he was a horse that again was just tough. He grounded out, and I think it's such a long straight at Donny. Very often they can start getting racing just too early and then not get to the line. So I would definitely not be expecting to see Shang Tang on the scene until the end.
Does he have a tendency to lug to his left slightly? When he ran at Wetherby, when he was third, he sort of went toward... They can do that at Wetherby, but me and Kills backed him, actually, when he beat Southfield Harvest, I remember. It was just before we came on to do a show here, and we were watching it at Ascot. He showed a little tendency there as well. Look, he's talented, isn't he? But is there a kink?
I think the Wetherby situation was that everything that day, people sort of all started going out wide, but by the end, looking for better ground. By the end of the day, it was, I think the ground was pretty bottomless wherever you went. So Adam chose to go down the rail on his own, but more thinking he'd save ground rather than looking for better ground, because there wasn't any better ground. James just took him wide at Ascot. He didn't need to have gone there, but again, I think he just sort of thought, oh well, it might be a bit nicer out there than it was down the inside of the track. So, you know, as far as that is concerned, he doesn't have a quirk. Where he does have a quirk is that he is a shocker to get on a horse box, which is why he didn't run at Ascot the next time. Right. When he did run at Ascot and he won, he left the yard travelling forwards in the horse box, and he arrived at the races travelling backwards. So that's where his quirk is.
Great to get inside the mind of these horses, isn't it, with the trains? What a character he sounds like. But there's another big day in him, no doubt, if it's not tomorrow, that's for sure. Change of tactics going to be interesting on that one. Where's the Kills radar looking?
Well, I like the experienced angle. This is the biggest field for this race for a long while. Officially only £7 between 12 of the 13 runners. And 11 of the 13 haven't won over further than 2 mile 5.5. So, you know, it's going to be really tough out there. 3 mile half a furlong. And I like the look of Exploiter, who's run 4 times this season. Another second season novice with loads of experience, 8 runs over hurdles. Twice a winner on heavy ground, second to Mint Condition first time up in a Class 4 handicap at Bangor. You can't imagine how well that has worked out, because obviously Mint Condition shook up Adramel at Warwick the other day. And he was third last time at Chepstow with Storm Arises, and I don't think that was as much of a stamina test as he wanted. So I think it's very much going to be in his favour, and he will run a race at a price.
There you go then, one at a price in the River Don for Kills. 3:15 then, the Sky Bet Chase. Cracking race, isn't it? How many well-handicapped horses have we got in here? Well, we've got the aforementioned Roy Pagaille. The second to him last time was Captain All. We had Christian Williams on the show pre-Christmas. He told us this would run a belter at Kempton. Did that. Clear second to Royal Pagaille. Of course, he's gone up in the weights, but Pat, is this one that's just been over-bet now? He's a really skinny price, or is this one that the bookmakers right at the start of the week went, no thanks?
Yeah, this is not a case of money by any means, Dave. It's just the fact that all the odds compilers have obviously thought, yeah, he just appeals as the most likely winner of this race. And he's easy to find in the form book, isn't he? And when you think there's 13 runners and he's number 11 on the race card, he's probably a well-handicapped horse. And as I say, the Royal Pagaille form has kept him short enough in the market. But, you know, Christian Williams is a shrewd judge. He seems very confident about the horse. He's got an awful lot going for him, and he was always going to run in this race. So there's no liability-driven opinions about this. It's just a case of preparing ourselves for what's going to be clearly a very well-backed favourite. Of course, the second favourite, Canelo, well, you know, they met at Newbury, and Canelo's a little bit better off at the weights and has improved again to win since. So he's very much in the equation. Well, one that I keep looking at, one for the team. He seems a well-handicapped horse, and there's been money for him. Not as sexy a profile maybe as Captain North, so maybe he'll drift. I think there's a couple of solid ones here. I think I Right is a decent horse, and he ran in that bumper jumper race the other day, so you can forget that. But he's got good form. He was third in the Charlie Hall that we sponsored to Surname. Good run in the Ladbroke. He seems a fair enough price to me. And I was watching Musical Slave when he ran at Newbury on his seasonal reappearance. I thought he was pretty much an eye catcher, and he is actually bottom weight, but it's one of those, like, I'd be quite happy going with the likes of I Write and Musical Slave each way, but there's no denying this is a well-backed favourite. We're bracing ourselves for money for him. I just think it's a type of horse the public going to latch on to him. For our sins at 5-2, we'd think that would be short enough. If we can lay him at 2-1, we'd be delighted.
Kills, just come to you then before we bring in Emma on this race. I guess with Royal Pagaille, are you hoping this wins, and do you expect him to win, or not at the prices?
I'm not necessarily that concerned, because obviously Royal Pagaille has gone out and done what he's done since. So what Captain Noor does is neither here nor there with relation to his form. Now, Captain Noor is obviously very much the right favourite and very much the horse to beat. Couple of concerns when you're betting at very short prices in big handicaps. Christian Williams, 1 winner from 14 runners in December, none from 17 in January. Little bit of a worry. Doesn't have a massive yard, so maybe neither here nor there. And the other thing is he hasn't looked entirely at home when the ground's been very deep in the past. And that would just concern me a little bit. He is £3 well in because his collateral form rise of £3 doesn't kick in. So he's the one to beat, but a couple of question marks. And I'm going to give Boldmere another chance. He's a 16-to-1 shot. He's travelled better than he's finished on his last 2 starts. The Bangor form's pretty good. He was off 144 there. He was beaten 13 lengths. The winner, Not a Chance, has come out and won the Warwick Classic, and the third finished second in the Welsh National. The next bit of form, which was at Doncaster, hasn't really been tested. And he cruised into the lead in the straight there and then just didn't find very much. I was kind of hoping that I'd see news of a wind operation, but he hasn't. He's had 7 weeks off. He absolutely hosed up on this track last year, and then he would have won the Toten on very soft ground at Wetherby afterwards. Back in that sort of form, he's not a 16-to-1 shot.
I should have known you were going to go with Boldmere. I know he's a horse that you like a lot and expected more from last time as well. So, Emma, absolutely fascinating, isn't it? We talked about this collateral form going up in the handicap. Of course, the £3 high mark already awaits the favourite.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is a massively competitive race, and some more exposed, some less exposed in it. We've had a few runners in this over the years and not even got close to victory. So clearly I'm not the one to ask as to which horse is going to win this one. If I was forced to, I suppose one for the team would be the one that I'd be thinking. I think Chamblou's a really smart horse. I think he ran well against him, considering, and if I was going to be forced to put some money down on something, that's who I'd go with.
That'll do for more than a lot of people out there, let me tell you, Emma. I thought that the softer ground might swing the way of Canelo as well, but one for the team. You got Rocky's Treasure in there as well. It's another head scratcher. Bring in the guys at myracing.com, then check out their website for expert analysis and tips. Huge Twitter following they've got because they've landed quite a few doubles with us here on What a Shout, haven't they? Who are they going for this week then? Both up at Yorkshire at Doncaster. In the 205, expecting Marie's Rock to bounce back. And in the 315, the Sky Bet Chase, they're going with the class angle. Good old I Write. Okay, time for the weekend winners. Now, we know Emma Lavelle's going to give you Paisley Park. You're all on Paisley Park anyway. There's nothing that we're going to learn there. But maybe a couple of dark ones from the stable in the next week or so. Hoi Polloi's a horse that I want to talk to you about, Emma. Really impressive last season, wasn't it? Hereford, maybe was it the ground that got the better of him?
Yeah, absolutely. He's still just a frame. He's developing, but he's not anywhere near his sort of final physique. And he just couldn't handle the ground at Hereford. He ran perfectly respectably. When he was schooling at home, he was absolutely brilliant. And when he went to the races, he was just he wasn't brilliant. And we just put that down to the fact that it was just too soft. He's come back, he's schooled well. He's had a few entries, but we're just waiting for better ground. He's a really nice horse for the future, and I just want to try and get it right with him.
Yeah, absolutely. You can sense the pressure there to do just that. And Red Rookie's a horse that you want to tell us about as well. He's another interesting one.
Yeah, he loves soft ground. He won 2 proper soft ground bumpers last season. He came out at Lingfield in what transpired to be an incredibly hot novice hurdle. Bear Gills finished up winning it, and there's been loads of winners that have come out of the race. I took the sheet off him in the paddock and I went, oh my God, he looks so fat, and I just knew he wasn't ready. He'd been doing everything well at home, and I just thought, I'm going too soon with this horse. He came there to the second last, just ballooned that and blew up, but he came home and he just was quite poorly for some reason. He's coming back to himself now. He's been declared a couple of times and the meetings have been lost. He's in at Exeter next week, and we'll make some other entries for later in the week. He is a lovely, lovely horse who has a big future.
Love that. Thank you, Emma Lavelle. Okay, let's get some weekend action out of the way. Paul Kealy, give us a winner.
Yeah, a few I like, but I mean, I think I'm going to go with Exploiter in the River Don, just on a value angle. Will stay the trip really well, has the experience, and ground will not be a problem at all.
Pat Cooney, give us a double.
Yeah, Kempton, 2 o'clock on the all-weather for me, a 2 mile handicap, and it's a class 3. Not often you can back a John Gosden trained horse off bottom weight in a class 3, but this fella had Holly Doyle up last time, as she is aboard at Kempton. It was a slow run race last time, a small field. It just didn't work out at all for the horse. He went up £2 for that, but it's a bigger field tomorrow. There's 11 runners. There'll be a stronger gallop for sure. This horse has got a bit of class, I think, and I think the race will sets up well for him tomorrow. There's some out of form horses in the race. Maybe horses have had the better days. There's 6-year-olds and 8-year-olds in it. He's a progressive 4-year-old. And tomorrow, he ran in the class 2 last time. This is a class 3. I just think the fast pace, the drop in class, everything points to a big run. And I think Holly will ride him knowing that maybe he didn't have the instant acceleration last time. So expect her to kick earlier this time around. So the opener at Kempton for me, 2 o'clock at the bottom, and Tiaz.
A meeting that's been moved forward. That's the double, and I'll give you a treble for you out there. 10.60. Didn't show that much on his return, but Philip Hobbs' horses, they have found an extra leg all of a sudden, haven't they? In 10.60 in the 350 at Donny. That completes your weekend naps. Right then, time to sign off this week's What a Shout. Delighted to have Emma Lavelle with us all the way. Thanks for coming on, Em.
No problem at all. Great to be here.
Just before you go, and probably go on to another podcast or whatever it is, I know you're playing it down. I can tell you're getting used to this Skype world all of a sudden. Pat Cooney does have a question for you.
Yeah, Emma, it's an anniversary of 6 years ago that you had a horse win at Wincanton on his debut in a bumper called See the World. And it was quite a famous victory, really, because if you go on Google, tap in See the World horse, up pops the race. And there's been 450,000 viewings of the race. So as notorious as Paisley Park is, this fella also caught the imagination. I know that it didn't work out for him in subsequent races, but it was an amazing race to watch. I just wondered if you could tell us what your thoughts about the horse were and indeed the race that day.
Well, it was, as you say, an extraordinary race. He travelled well through it, but turning the bend into the home straight, everything turned the bend and he just went straight on. And I was like, oh my God, the steering's gone. This is just horrendous. And I was standing with his owner, and sort of slightly embarrassed, thinking, oh my, what's happening here? and then the next minute, sort of Aidan had sort of steered him round. Now he was 17.2, this horse, absolutely enormous. So it's a bit like a barge. Once you're going, it takes a bit of time to manoeuvre it back round again. And the race had sort of gone on, and then suddenly he started passing horses again. And I thought, actually, he's not going to run too badly. And then he passed another one. And then suddenly he's going to be third. And then he's winning sort of on the bridle. And it was extraordinary. And we sort of came away thinking, wow, this is amazing. And Nicky had bred him. And so it was, just a fantastic moment. He sadly finished up bursting blood vessels, and so never really got the chance to fulfill his potential. The other thing that was quite an interesting aside about the race is if you actually go back through the form of the others, it was probably one of the worst bumpers ever run at Wincanton. So you never know what is in the races, but it is an extraordinary race to watch. But it transpired not to have been a great race. So ultimately, it probably wasn't as amazing as it appeared at the time visually.
Just as that seismic view count was about to go up, everyone's got actually. I don't think I will watch that actually. I'll tell you what, it's a painful anniversary for me, Emma, as well, because I actually analysed that race back in my youth for the Racing Post, and I said he'll be great when he goes back, when he gets onto a right-handed track, got my left and my right's wrong again. And Paul Kealy, the next day, pointed it out from above. He went, this plonker who's done the analysis has got it wrong, and Twitter went mental. Cheers for that, Keels.
Sorry, mate.
He's always watching. So thanks, Emma. Listen, great to have you on. Great insight as well. Okay, thanks to Paul Kealy. Thanks to Pat Cooney. Thanks to you for watching. Get your comments in for the panellists below. We always check the feedback throughout the weekend. We know you're really enjoying the show at the moment. Don't forget, safe gambling this weekend. That's what it's about. Don't forget to download the free Racing Post app. You can do that on the App Store or the Google Play Store as well. So for myself, Dave Orton, and this week's team, enjoy the sport.